Everyone jokes about being in the upside down, but lately, it doesn't feel like a joke, really. It feels like we're living in a flipped version of reality. Time feels off, people feel off, truth feels distorted, and society feels uncanny in a way that's hard to explain, but a lot of us are feeling it. What is up, everybody? I'm Johnny Blacklight. Welcome to the channel. Here we talk about all kinds of weird stuff. Cryptids, UAPs, glitches in the Matrix itself, and more. Subscribe and stay a while. As I've been talking about lately in some of my recent videos, time just straight up feels wrong nowadays. Days seem to merge together and kind of blur into something that used to resemble a week, that molds into months, and before you know it, yet another year has gone by. We seem to be in some kind of quickening, a term I heard in a video I recently reacted to here. But yeah, we seem to be experiencing much faster cycles with a lot less breathing room. Life can really feel like wake up, work, scroll, eat, sleep, repeat. I don't know about you, but I don't remember time feeling like this back in the day, even in more recent years. Something about 2020, man. I don't know, but it seems like that was about the time things began to feel much more fragmented. For more on the time aspect and my personal thoughts on it, check out this video I did focusing on that specific aspect. But yeah, the time sludge effect definitely adds to an upside down-ish kind of vibe, amongst many other things. People in general feel different, anxious, reactive, and disconnected, seemingly more so than ever before. I do still connect with a lot of people throughout my work, and I do still personally have meaningful conversations. But sometimes with certain people, maybe a public encounter or someone I'm not so familiar with, convos can feel a bit weird. Person to person, I haven't personally dealt with a lot of that when it comes to this, but I do hear this in these online circles quite a bit for sure. And I will admit that social spaces in general do feel colder, more performative. And I think that goes hand in hand with the more Black Mirror-esque aspects of the world right now. But I digress. I think there's a lot of burnout when it comes to identity, labels, and outrage. Ego exhaustion to the maximum potential here, man. And that can massively affect how we communicate with each other face to face on a human level, day to day in the real world. The thinning veil, if you will, seems to be a huge aspect in our real world upside down as of late, fueling a lot of uncanny vibes, especially with the worlds I immerse myself in these days. So many reports of UFO and UAP sightings, glitches, paranormal encounters, high strangeness moments off the charts out here right now, man. Leaving even some skeptics saying that something's off. Not necessarily when it comes to just believing everything, but more about pattern recognition and the fact that these days it just seems like there's too much weirdness to ignore it, really. So now we get a bit more into the Black Mirror reality parallels and shared aspects when it comes to what a real life, modern day, upside down would be, or is like. Living in a bread and circuses driven system with algorithms shaping our reality. Media narratives are currently collapsing all around us due to the trust in institutions at an all-time low. Bringing me back to the awakening aspect I've been talking about here on the channel lately. A lot of us are figuring out the game. Maybe not figuring out all the rules, but we're waking up to the fact that it is, in fact, a game. So this creates an ecosystem where a ton of folks know we're being manipulated, but they don't really know what to do with that knowledge. So for many, the world we currently occupy can feel like the upside down because it is still a very much familiar world, but distorted. And that distortion doesn't seem to be going anywhere. If anything, it's growing more and more warped. We live in the same social structures, but while fueling ourselves with the wrong energy, basically. Joy can feel very muted sometimes, with beauty, fun, laughter, and all that kind of stuff still very much existing. But it feels much harder to reach these days through all this constant noise. It's like we didn't necessarily cross into another dimension. The lights just flickered, and suddenly the world we knew felt like an upside-down, distorted version of itself. But there could be a nice silver lining to all of this. People pulling inward rather than so outward. I feel like a lot of people are yearning for a more simplistic reality, and many are creating just that for themselves. Their very own castle buyers, if you will. Self-produced ego deaths brought to you by childlike wonder. That's one of the big ones that gets suppressed. Creativity and finding simplicity in simple, joyful things. Like getting out there and touching some grass in nature. Diving into some old shows, movies, or music. Stuff that you haven't revisited in a while. And not the forcing kind either. The stuff that's been in the back of your mind, the stuff you've been personally really wanting to go check out again. Do it. That's the kind of thing I've been doing, and I've found a nice little space to carve out in this upside down of a society we got going on right now. A lot less validation seeking and looking for a much deeper personal connection with things. The upside down might be what ends up waking us up. You're not crazy for feeling this, and you're definitely not alone. The things feel off lane of the internet is steadily growing, with a ton of people noticing the uncanniness of literally everything, and simultaneously not being able to collectively put their finger on it. So welcome. Subscribe. Stay a while. We talk about this kind of stuff all the time here. Plus, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, cryptids, UAPs, weird stories, all the high strangeness. But it feels to me like we may be at the beginning stages of some kind of transitional period, with so much weirdness out there and so many folks catching on. Staying human in a more and more warped and inhuman reality. Do you feel it too? If so, when did things start feeling off for you? And what are you doing to help cope with it and keep on keeping on? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, man, I think that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm Johnny Blacklight. Subscribe for more. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see you next time.